Hello, everybody! Welcome to Level Up Academy TV show. Today, we're going to talk about Paulette and how she's helping children understand their world, right? And this is not just written because she feels like it. She actually experienced most of these things and has helped hundreds of children. So let's talk about it and let's get to know why, the how, the where, and what's going on. Okay, let's start.
Level up, it's time to rise, unlock your potential, reach for the skies, transform pain to purpose, find clarity and stride. With Dr. Leyland leading, we stand side by side. Collaboration fuels us, together we thrive at Level Up Academy. Your dreams come alive. Level up with Dr. Leyland. Step into the future, the world is waiting now. Dreams are in the making, we'll show you how. From the books to the screen, from the stage to the stars. Level up your game, let's raise the bar. Innovation, inspiration, it's in our DNA. Breaking through the limits, we're paving the way. Level up, reach the sky, take the lead, don't be shy. Your story's worth it, your light will shine. At Level Up Academy, it's your time. Oh, it's your time. At Level Up Academy, we rise and climb. Empowered in your passion, your voice will be heard. Building a legacy with every word. From podcasts to pages, from business to art. Level Up's the place where it all can start. With heart and with vision, we're chasing every goal. Together we'll ignite the fire in your soul. Level up, reach the sky, take the lead, don't be shy. Your story's worth it, your light will shine. At Level Up Academy, it's your time. Oh, it's your time. At Level Up Academy, we rise and climb. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Oh, we're trailblazing, breaking through the mold. Dreams are alive, let your story unfold. With courage and pride, we'll take the fight. At Level Up, we own the night. Level up, reach the sky, take the lead, don't be shy. Your story's worth it, your light will shine. At Level Up Academy, it's your time. Oh, it's your time. At Level Up Academy, we rise and climb. So let's level up and never look back. On the road to greatness, we're on the right track. Together we'll soar, together we'll thrive. At Level Up Academy, we're alive.
How do you like them apples? Okay, so we have one more for you, but I will go actually bring in Paulette first. And I am actually going to get her music going. She also has music for this amazing. Look at all these books. It's a series that she has. I still want Jack though, or is that Walter? I'm not sure, but I want that doll. I have created my Level Up Academy doll, and it's an owl, and I'm gonna find someone to make it for me. It's really cute. I want it to be fuzzy as much as possible. But look at that. Paulette has a series. So before we bring her in, actually, let me just go ahead and see if we can play this song for her from Whisper Boy.
Whisper Boy.
I wake up to the morning light, nervous butterflies in flight. First day at school, a brand new place. Jelly belly worries I can't erase. Mom says, be brave, but I'm not sure what's behind that classroom door. Walter whispers, stand up tall. You've got this, kid, just give it your all. So I smile, I stand, I walk like I'm strong, even though I'm wobbly, I play along on the buddy bench. There's room for two, and maybe I'll find a friend like you. Be brave, stand tall, that's all it takes. Even a shy kid can catch a break. I sit alone, hands in my coat, holding Walter's card like a secret note. Be brave, it says, and be strong too. But my tummy's all gray, no yellow or blue. Then a boy shows up with a grin so wide, says, hi, I'm Henry, can I sit by your side? One sits crunch and we start to joke. That's the moment the ice finally broke. So I smile, I stand, I walk like I'm strong, even though I'm wobbly, I play along on the buddy bench. There's room for two, and maybe I'll find a friend like you. Be brave, stand tall, that's all it takes. Even a shy kid can catch a break. It's okay to feel a little small, like a basketball player afraid to fall. Walter said, put your smile in place. Courage can show on your happy face. And step by step, I start to see I'm not so alone with Henry and me. So I smile, I stand, I walk like I'm strong, even though I'm wobbly, I play along. On the buddy bench, there's room for two, and maybe I'll find a friend like you. Be brave, stand tall, that's all it takes. Even a shy kid can catch a break. Now I've got Henry and Walter too. Turns out being brave brings something new. First days are tough, but I made it through. And maybe the buddy bench can work for you.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Are you guys ready? Okay. There we are. That was so I saw your face like so elated with the whole song. Yeah. You're on mute, sister. Wait, let me unmute you. There
You're
you go.
doing it? Yeah. Yeah. When I first heard it, I cried because it really does bring the story to life. And it sounds like a sort of 80s children's show that I used to watch, or know of. And when he spoke to me, he said, what age, and I said, I think a man. And I think like a sort of guy that would sort of be that 10, 11-year-old would look up to. And that's how come he came up with that. So it's brilliant. Yeah.
Awesome. Michelle is here. Homer is here from the
Hey.
yeah. Michelle loving the new intro. Thank you.
Yes, I loved
Here's
it
Times
too.
Squirrel all over the intro song. And he's so funny. Yes, that was Whisper Boy. That was so funny. Morning. Yeah. So my first thought, like you've been on Rebel with a Cause with us. So I know you're writing, and this is like the first time that you're writing about something else other than children's book. But I'm always curious, why children's book?
Because there wasn't enough of me to go around. So I was being invited to schools up and down the country. I could have worn myself into a crazy frenzy. The front door could have been revolving with children coming through it because there's such a huge demand right now for therapists and counselors, especially children. And so it just seemed to me to make sense that if I could get a better reach, would be through a book. So a child will have that with them, or they'll have it on their phone or whatever. And if they feel that moment where they can't cope, they've got their water card in their pocket, which gives them that sense of home. And then they've got the visual of water, and water is the puppet, as you say. And Jack only has to think of water, and it makes him smile. And if he thinks about what water says, which is, what would water do? It always makes him think, be sensible. Think about what water would say, and water would say, do X, Y, and Z. And that's how the child starts to think. And it really helps a child if they've got self-esteem and self-belief, they can go into their imagination and into their inner voice, listen to it, and it will guide them, just like a sat nav. It really does. And it says right from wrong, and yes and no, left or right. Um, and it really does help a child to understand what they should or shouldn't do. And, what I call the inner compass, everybody has that. Everyone knows right from wrong, just how we're brought up. But then things happen to us over time that change that. And when that happens, perhaps things get a bit skewed. So that's why we need a water in your life.
I love it. Lisa, ladies, you look beautiful. Thank you. I feel puffy.
Thank
Like
you.
I feel like I'm dying, Lisa, but we are going to nobody stops the show. We keep going. Thank you. I have another question actually. I was talking to somebody who also write like children's books. And when it comes to theme, right?
Hmm.
You have theme on each of your series or each of your book. How do you guys
Yes.
decide what theme you're going to write?
So the first book, which is The Bantalist Breakfast, was always going to be the first book, um, which is this one. And The Bantalist Breakfast is the story of bereavement. And that was because there were so many children lost grandparents and relatives during COVID. And there weren't therapists because obviously it was COVID. There wasn't the facilities to teach them and help them to understand death. For many people, it was the first time they'd ever experienced death. So a 40-year-old parent is losing their grandparent. A 9-year-old child is losing their great grandparent, and nobody knows how to handle it. And the child's going, well, where have they gone? Well, what's happened? What do we do now? Where do we go? And if you try to introduce the concept of God and heaven and all of this kind of stuff, it can be overwhelming. So we went with a star because it doesn't mean it's not heaven, but the brightest star in the sky, the North Star, is your grandparent, your aunt, your uncle, your relative. And if you want to talk to them, you look up at the sky, you talk to star. You never lose them. You never lose the memory of them because they're always there. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're going over the memories, over the nice things about that person that you remember, and you have all those thoughts. So every time you look at that star, it's like you've given a place for it to be placed, so that it's a happy star. It's not a sad star. So Granddad's star in the book is all about a child working out how to deal with death. And it's not a happy story, but at the end it's happy because Jack comes to a realization through working with water that actually Granddad's star is up there, and I can see him and I can talk to him anytime I like. And if I've got a problem, I can discuss it with Granddad's star and it's okay. And he was really happy with that and we called it a heaven. We still called it a heaven, but we called it a star. So we placed all those lovely feelings on a star. So that's where the book came up, and that's why we started with that one. It wouldn't have been the first one. It would have been when they first moved house. So we would have started with this one, which was when they move home, New House Nerves. But I just felt I was being asked by so many people, can you help my child talk about death? Can you talk to this child about losing a relative? Can you talk to this child about losing a relative? And I just said to Charlotte, it's every day. I'm getting 4 or 5 phone calls a day. So we went with the bereavement story. And then we came with Annie with launching this one, which was New House Nerves, which was the first one we did on LinkedIn. And we had a great reception to that one and ended up an international bestseller. So that was wonderful. International number one, Annie always says, I have to say. But basically, it means we did all right with it. And the kids love it. And that's really important. And then we've just followed it up with this one, which is they've moved into their new house. Obviously, they've moved. That means he's going to start a new school. So it's a kind of follow on of his life. So he's lost his granddad. The reason the book was bereavement, the granddad moves in with the grandma. That's why they had to move. And now they've started a new school. And so all the nerves that he feels moving into a new house really go this way, kind of just go just up a level when he starts to be a new school because he was really settled in his school. And then suddenly he's faced with all the challenges of that every child faces when they go from a new class to a new school to a new, even if it's a new building, just literally going across campus can send a university student into a pickle, right? So when we start a new job, we can go into, oh my God, what if no one likes me, right? And we don't have buddy benches when we go to work, right? If only we did. So the thing is anyone going to talk to me in the coffee room? When I go to the water to get my water, is anyone going to speak to me? I'm the new kid on the block. Is anyone, we go through that as an adult. So you can imagine what it's like as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old child. So, go right the way down to 5. We've been told 5-year-olds have understood it when it's been read to them and gone up as far as 12-year-olds reading it for themselves. So that's the books. And so that it's a kind of evolving story of what happens next in Jack's world. Well, that's to come. And I'll let you into a secret. It's
Yeah.
about news. It's about news. So he
Wow.
may have seen a headline that sends him into a tiz about World War III.
Mm.
And you can imagine what that would do. But that's what it's about, and it's really important to me that the kids get to feel comfortable that um, if they're worried, if they're anxious, it's like having a second Bible. They can give the book, if they've got the physical one, they can take that to bed with them. They can read it again. So if they need that bit of confidence, back in the book. And I hope that they're read and read until their fingers are, they're all tatty and horrible, because that's what I want for them. And we've donated because all the funds go into 2 pots. We've got Connect Impact Hub in the States, which helps people who are on the streets, children get books, schools get books, libraries get books, because lots of homeless people spend a lot of time in libraries. Connect Impact Hub's run by Martha Amayalobus, and she's doing amazing things helping the homeless. And so the money goes to her, and we've donated about $700 to her so far. And we've actually donated 685 books to connect to comfort cases for the kids going into care. And we've given over 100 books to Great Ormond Street Hospital, which is the big hospital in London for children. And they
Wow.
went into their stockings.
I love that. So here's the thing that my brain is percolating even though I'm sick. Um, so I'm a board member for Confronting Domestic Violence, and we help families relocate. you know, um, has to be families like women and their children, or men
Hmm.
and their children. And I was thinking, when kids are having those types of emotions, this would be a good book for that too. So
Perfect. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And if they have to start a new school because
mhm.
of it as well, then and listen, if that's a charity and
It is.
if
It's
they can,
non-profit.
well, if it's a non-profit and they have some funds, for every book that they buy, I'll give them one.
Okay. I will tell Agape because she's the founder of it. But I want to
Mm.
go back to Michelle. She says, I use books to help Angelina understand why her dad wasn't around. It was due to drugs and addiction, and there isn't a lot out there. Maybe Paulette can do another series.
I think that's a really, it's interesting. I've had another person ask me about would I do something about prison, somebody going to prison.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that is something that I don't think it could fit in with the Jack and Water situation, but I think there could be a standalone book. And I think what I would love to do, if I'm honest, is I would love to do a anthology of all the worries that children have. So we ask the children to write their worries down and send them in, and they get answered. And so we'll start up a chapter by answering questions, and it could be 100 questions, it could be 1,000 questions, but every time, I mean, I've had a parent say to me, um, "What do you tell a child when you've gone into hospital to have a baby and you come home without it? How do you explain that one?" And I said, "Well, would you like me to help?" And they said, "Yes, please." And when I spoke to the child, I said, they were 7, and I said, "What do you think has happened?" And they said, "Well, I know the baby died." And I said, "Well, where do you think the baby went?" I said, "Well, the baby would have gone to heaven." So I said, "Yeah." I said, "But babies don't stay babies. They become angels." "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "So you've got your very own angel now looking out for you." And they were like this. And I don't know how I thought of it or why I thought of it, but I just thought if we could make them feel like they were with them, it would be easier for them to deal with it. And from that moment, she said she'd find her talking up in her bedroom and she'd be talking to her angel. And that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that if it makes it work. And I think she says, "Count Angelina in and you." Well, I think that would be a great way to make it work. So you make there we are. So it's about having questions that whatever age, if you've got worries or anxiety or questions, you can literally have a moment where they can put that down in writing and we can come up with some kind of explanation that helps them deal with it. What a great book to have. And it would be a problem solving book, a one book, and it would be like an anthology of worries answered. That would be what we'll call it, an anthology of worries answered.
Yeah, I like that. I actually like that. We already have a couple in here that we have kids. I have two, but mine's kind of big now.
Yeah,
um,
but you could ask them what they had when they were younger, and I bet you they've got them. And the interesting thing is, I talked to a child on New Year's Eve who has had issues for a long time. He's very alienated because he's so bright. And that sounds crazy to be a really clever child, but he's very insular and very, very quiet, very, um, and he's a bit of a loner. And so he feels like everyone's looking at him all the time and that people are aware of what he's doing and he's very self-conscious. And I just said to him, he's got to become strong like a tree. And he said to me, "You told Ben that, I know." Because I said, "Yeah." I said, "It worked for Ben, didn't it?" He went, "Yeah." I said, "Right, so you stand really firm." I said, "Plant your feet I mean, he's 6 foot tall, thin as this, but he's 6 foot tall. And I said to him, "You stand straight, you put your shoulders back." And he was doing all the actions. And you could see his sort of neck was like he was trying for 6 foot two, you know. But he was standing strong like a tree. And that made him feel like he'd got his own presence. He was there and nobody was going to bother him. And I think that's just one little isolated conversation. And I said to his mum, "Has he spoken too much about it?" She said, "He's got a book of anxieties. He won't talk about them to us. But he spoke to you, just sitting here chatting." And she was like, "It's not fair. Why does he talk to you, not me?" And I said, "Well, maybe because I'm not his mum." But I think the answer
True.
is if we can get to that point of we could write a book where all the questions or a lot of questions are answered, that would be amazing.
That would be amazing. Even 100 questions answered with
Yeah,
multiple answers, right? Like,
yeah.
yeah, that would be really, from prison to drug abuse to bullying at school.
Alcohol. And
Yeah.
even when children get taken into care, even when, as you just talked about, with a mother running away with their kids from domestic violence,
Mm-hmm.
why does this happen? Why are there people living in their cars? Well, that's a big question. It's a really big question. And how do you give them an answer that's satisfactory? It's really hard. But
That's
what you have to do
comforting
is,
too, right?
yeah,
Satisfactory.
you've got to give them something that's not only satisfactory, so it settles them, but also makes them feel like they're not so different, you know? And
Yeah.
I love the idea of making every child equal. And I know that's crazy because people say to me, "You can make a fortune out of water dolls." But I love the idea also of every child being able to have a card, even if they can't afford anything else, they can print out a card at the library or in school, and they've got their water card with them that they've coloured in themselves, that gives them that peace of mind that water loves them and cares for them. And that would be amazing. So if we could come up with a different idea, we'll come up with a theory for the 100 questions, that the anthology, and we'll come up with some kind of um, whether it's somebody said the other day a dot. If you could just draw a dot in the middle of your hand there, and every time you have a worry, you look at the dot, right? The dot says home. It's going to be okay because I'm going home. That dot represents so much. It represents safety, it represents the house, it represents whatever. And I said, "Well, dot?" And they were like, "Yeah, that's all it took." When they had a dot, their child was like, "Okay." And it had to be with ink so that it stayed there all day. And then I said, during COVID, when the kids first started going back to school, bearing in mind children missed out on kindergarten, they missed out on first grade, so that they started school in second grade, which is too big a gap. Children were terrified. So parents, your lovely big lips. Right. Imagine kissing your hand, right, with the stain lipstick. So it stains your lips, yeah? And I heard a mother did that to her hand, and the child could kiss it, and there was 100 kisses in that lips. She could have and take one anytime she wanted one all day long. And she sometimes came home and there were a few left. And I love that. And I kind of see that as being something that for the younger children that would work. But for the older kids, I can see that dot as being representative of home, and it would have to be the parent that they love and trust puts the dot there. And that's me. That's me. I'm right there with you all day long. You're safe. I've
Yeah.
got you.
I think when my kids were little, I give them, because well, I homeschooled them, my first one until second grade, and then she went to school. She likes it, but then she doesn't like it. It's like halfway there. I gave her, I think, my lipstick, um, like a lip gloss, and I told her, like, every time you feel like you're not confident or people are not, being nice to you, go to the bathroom, excuse yourself, and put that lip balm, and mommy's there.
Hmm.
And so I used to do that because we live in the East Coast
Yeah.
and it was really cold. So that was a lip balm. Another one is my youngest actually had a binky. So she still has it. It's cute. It's a blanket, like a baby blanket when they were born, and she takes it everywhere. And sometimes she doesn't want me to laundry it, and it really needs to be laundried because she drags it outside. And she would cry. She's like, "It doesn't smell the same." I'm like, "Disgusting." And then I would wash it, and she would cry for, oh, I don't know, 3 nights until she's like, "Fine," because the germs. And she just didn't care. She wants that mommy blanket for her comfort. And so my kids always had that. So that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Ben had a piece of muslin cloth, and he called it Muzzy, and it was known as Muzzy forever. And when it used to go in the washing machine, I'd see Ben sitting in front of the washing machine
Watching
going,
it.
"What are you doing?" I'm watching Muzzy.
Oh
And
my
then it came out the washer in the dryer, watching the dryer go round. And then it could come out, and then I'd have to use lots of the nice smelly so that it smelled really lovely. And then he'd dirty it up, make it smell of him, and then he was happy. As you say, it's their own smell, isn't it? But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's what we're talking about is comfort. Anything that gives a child comfort. And I think this dot, as crazy as it sounds, I love that for older children. I just can see that that would be, it's such, it's no, nobody can tell anybody off for having it because nobody would see it because it's inside the joint of your thumb and your finger. It just sits inside there and it's placed every day. I just think that is lovely. And I can imagine people as they get older having tattoos of the little dot, because I think that is a really clever thing that a parent has come up with. As long as they don't give them ink poisoning, but on my account, don't sue me.
Another one is star. Like when they would feel like, "Oh, mom, I didn't know the answers," or whatever. I used to, because their teacher uses stars at school, and they're like, "I didn't get enough star today. I'm supposed to get 5." And I would write stars that they're missing on their thumb. And they're like, "Well, that's not my teacher." I'm like, "No, I taught you, remember? So I'm part of your teacher's goal. So that star is yours too." She's like,
Counts.
"Okay, I feel better. I feel better." Because sometimes they come home with 3 stars because they didn't finish a homework and they were talking a lot. And then they would come home crying, like, "Oh my God, I wasn't good today. I only had 3 stars," right? And teachers really don't realize that it affects kids, right? They just thought, "Oh, this is something positive." But at home, the conversation is different. So I used to just put stars on their little area.
Yeah, what's supposed to be seen as motivational becomes actually quite depressing because the child looks as they failed. I didn't get those stars, so I'm a failure. And we don't want to teach failure. We don't want to teach that word ever. We want to teach success and aiming for success and leveling up all the time. Got that in there.
I
But
love it.
it's but that's what we want to teach them, right? What challenges did you face during the writing process? Um, I guess the only challenge I ever have is, as you can hear by the way I talk too much, is limiting the story because you can describe and describe and over describe. Um, I love to set the scene, and I really like the kids to feel like they're in the story. So the more detail you give, the better. But I'm always aware that so many pages and things. So I guess the only thing I have problems with is taking stuff out all the time. I go, I take that bit out, then I put it back in again, and so. But by the time Charlotte and I have been through the process, we've read the book so many times, we know the story so well that there's nothing you can take out. We're like, right, we're done. But up until then, we're in and out and in and out and arguing about what should and what shouldn't be there. So yeah.
Wow. Now, another question that I have is this one, right? Some people actually, I wanted not, I guess it is for children's book, but I want to write a series of books about my dogs. and how they are comforting me when I'm sad, when I'm mad, when I'm frustrated, when I'm angry, and they just make my day, period. And so, how can someone start tapping into their intuitive abilities? And what role does intuitive reader play in helping like others uncover those insights as a children's book writer?
That's a good question. Right. Well, let's break it down. So, first of all, I believe that everybody's a writer because if we can speak, then we can write. So, the answer is, can we turn that writing into something somebody wants to read? That's the difference. Everybody can write, but can we turn the writing into something people want to read? So, if you've got a story about animals or children or anything that we can relate to, now you've already got a captive audience. How many people have got pets? How many people love their pets? How many people get that feeling of love from their pets? Um, as a lady that I know says her dog saved her life, literally. Without a dog, she probably wouldn't be here because it was the dogs that made her get up in the morning. It was the dogs. She had to take them for a walk. She had to face life, crawl from underneath the covers. So I guess the answer is with animals, everybody can relate who's ever had a pet. So I think that your stories about you and your pets will relate to everybody because your intuitive nature as to how you relate to the dog or a cat relates to you, how you relate to each other. I mean, like Ted won't come to anybody, like you call him, you tap your leg, he doesn't come, he goes, yeah, whatever. But if you whistle or you say you squeak his toy, then he'll come barging. Or if you shout chicken, now his name isn't Chicken, his name's Teddy, but he loves chicken, so he comes to chicken. So those sort of stories people would find really endearing because they probably have exactly the same problem, right? So I guess with an animal, I think, or any animals, you can find something to relate to within your story. So I would say that with animals, it would be fairly easy. How anybody would, to make somebody interested enough to pick up a book, it's got to be different from all the other dog books. So it's going to either be the dogs that saved my life, or it's the dogs that um, met my needs. That's an interesting one.
So,
Some people say dogs meet needs more than
yeah,
adults, more than people.
I don't know. For me, I'm gonna write how my ADHD is helped by my English bulldog.
Tell me.
Um, so part of having ADHD, not only just everywhere, but you get depression, anxiety, and all that. So she's very intuitive. She knows when I'm sad. She would grab on my leg so bad, it's so painful that I had to go hug her. When I hug her, she lets go. Like she just knows. And I wear pants all the time, but when I'm crying, she would try to jump. And she's a fatty, like I love fatty bulldog, but she loves to jump in her little leg and she would lick my tears. And I don't like being licked, but when she does that, it's so endearing. And then sometimes when I'm just crying in the corner, she would be somewhere like out around the house. When she hears me, I think a little bit, and I try to avoid it. When I hear a little bit of cry, she would give me a toy. Like she would take her toy from her sister, not even hers, because she doesn't really like toys. But she would take a toy from her sister, which is my German Shepherd, and then they would fight. And then if I'm in bed, like I don't feel good, and I tell her I don't, mommy doesn't feel good. If the other dogs come near me, she would fight them. She would growl at them. She would fight them. And mind you, she's the smallest out of my pack. She's 55 pounds. The other one's like 90 pounds. The other one's 75 pounds. And she would go, "Urgh," like she would just growl and she like leave mom alone. And they would, because she's the older. She's 6 years old. But there's just so many things that she does that if you don't pay attention, you won't notice it. But I pay attention for all the behavior. Another thing that my husband taught her, oh God. So because she gained weight after like she got pregnant, but we had to take the babies because she would die if we let it go. She got really heavy. And so now when she goes to my bed, she doesn't want to jump anymore or go to the stairs. She would literally bark for her dad to pick her up, put her down, and then she can go to me. Um, and then I'm like, oh, Cheerio's barking. Or if she doesn't see me around the house, she would growl at her dad while he's working and said, "Where's mom?" And then he would call me like, "Get Cheerio right now. I'm on a meeting." I'm like, "I'm out." He's like, "Oh God, she's so frustrated." So she would let her go because she's on a meeting. He would excuse himself because she is always like right now she's here. Sometimes you'll hear her snore. But literally that this bulldog is everything, right? And I know
Mm.
someday she's gonna go to Rainbow Bridge, which is gonna break my heart. I had one that's German Shepherd. My son was 11 years old when I call him my son, but that broke my heart. I went into big depression for 3 months on that one. And so I know this is coming, but like I'm not wanting to face it. So now I'm just gonna write about her and what she does for me.
So, so that isn't just intuitive. That is, she's like your angel, right? So she is like your angel. So, like when I was telling that child about how you'll always have her with you, right? Um, the same thing applies to you and your dog. You and your dog are inseparable. You have your angel with you, and she's not letting anyone come near you if you're not well, and she's going to protect you. And if you've got any issues, like you said, if your ADHD is playing up, then she'll come to you and let you know. So to me, that dog is super smart and so trainable, and you've obviously done a great job with her, but she is a mummy's girl and there's no getting away from it. And she's already your little angel. So, to me, you can write about that exactly as it is. And I don't think you should, don't delay in writing about it.
Oh no,
Write
it's
about
gonna
all
be
the
on
fun stuff
the
now. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's what I want
I
to
was
write.
going to say that, yeah, that I definitely wouldn't hold back on that one, because even when we first heard that Ben was diagnosed with autism, um, he was quite introverted. He's an only child, and we were told to get a dog. It was recommended to us, and we had we had a Labrador, and they're not small dogs. And the one we got was the sire of the list, the one that they were going to breed from. So we had to sign the agreement to say we were going to get him done and he wouldn't breed from him because he was a pedigree. Not that it mattered, because all that happened was we were going for a brown girl called Charlie. That was it, a brown girl called Charlie. When we got there, we came home with a black dog, a black boy called Charlie. And the reason we got the black boy was because he licked Ben. He was the biggest dog in the whole of the pack. And he stood up on the little sort of fence she'd put round the play area. It was paper and poo, and it was a right old lovely mess. Really smelly and puppy like. And then he jumped up and he put his hands on Ben's shoulders and went right across his face. And Ben said he chose me. And I said, that little boy isn't for sale. We've come to see one little brown girl doggies. And he started getting really upset. And I said, I'm sorry, darling. We'll go away. We'll find some more little black doggies. I want that one. I said, that one's not for sale. Anyway, we came away, and as we were walking out, we just got in the car, and the lady knocked on the window, and she said to me to come back in the house. I went back in, and she said, look, I've just spoken to my husband, and we said we've got enough dogs to breed from, but we don't want the line to the pedigree to go anywhere else, and da 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 da. So as long as you sign up to say that you'll have him done, I said, well, we want a pet. We don't want a dog to breed from. She said, you can have Charlie. And I said, you're already calling him Charlie. She said, yeah, his Ben's. And I was like, oh. So I went back and I said, she said, go and get your son. So I went back and I said, Charlie's your dog. Yeah, I told you. And it was as if it was magic, you know. He knew the conversation we were having in the house. And then she put a few extra 100 quid on it, I'm sure, because he was, the best of the best. I said, yeah, but we can't breed from him. She said, yeah, but he's still the best of the best. But that
Yeah.
dog was amazing. He was, oh, we loved him to pieces. And we had him for 11 years.
Yeah,
And
that'll take for
oh,
me 10 years.
heartache.
Pedigree. Pedigree people goes, "Oh, I don't care if it's pedigree or not." It's not for vanity. It's actually for disease control. If
Mm,
you have, I've studied enough. My son, we went. Oh my God, that boy! We spent so much money on hotel dogs, canine puppy unit, school. I mean, he was all out, and he had a swimming lesson. Like, I miss him so much. I would spend hours training him, and I told him he looks like Rin Tin Tin, the movie, the German Shepherd movie. And so I said, okay, we're gonna apply for Hollywood boy. I'm gonna say, bang, bang, you're dead. And he would turn around, play dead, but his eyes are open. I'm like, okay, you just lost that contract. And he would just look at me like, what?
what are you on about, Mom?
Yeah.
I
And
love that.
he saved my kids twice. My oldest used to put cover on her face because she gets really scared when it's dark, right? And I think one night it was 2 in the morning and she
That's
couldn't.
something for our book.
Yeah, she couldn't breathe, right? And my dog literally woke me up and I was so upset. I'm like, dude, I'm tired. And he dragged my shorts. Like he was so volatile. I'm like, what? And I look and I see my kid trying to like get out of the blanket. And I was like, oh wow, okay. But he was big. He was 110 pounds. And I have Bella and her, and he looks like a wolf. It was so crazy, but he was so amazing. He was intuitive. When you look in his eyes, he looks like a human being. He understands everything. He got out of the house lost for 2 hours, and he came home by himself. I was like, how did he do that? I was distraught. He was 6 months old. This one is also like, that's why I said like pedigree matters not for vanity, but for disease
Mm,
control, right? Because if you don't know what they're mixed in, you don't know what kind of disease you need to control. So
yeah.
that's how I see pedigree. But this one has immunotherapy, medicine, daily, twice a day, like folds, clean up, ears, clean up. Like she's high maintenance, literally. But I take
I
her, I
love
dress
it.
her up, I dress her up. We go to Starbucks, we talk. She likes croissant and puppuccino from Starbucks, so I give her croissant and puppuccino. We would sit down and everyone was looking. So if it's Christmas, I would put her in Christmas outfit. And when it's spring, I would put a hat and glasses with her, and she has a little pulley.
I
But
love it.
yeah, I created jewelry for her. I started doing jewelry for her because none of the dogs actually can do, because English Bulldog has really like big chest, but they're
Yeah.
short, so it's really hard. So I made a tutu just for her. I went to Joanne's, figure out YouTube how to make tutu for her because I wanted to have like my dogs used to do modeling for dog outfit on Instagram for a little bit there. Because I would make clothes for them and bandanas and hair, and I love doing that to her. And then finally she just looks at me like, I'm done. I'm 6. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm like, fine. But yeah, I love her so much.
Oh, I absolutely love anybody who has ever had a dog knows how um, you have to have done the full cycle, the circle of life, to know what it feels like when you lose an animal. Um, we were never prepared for Charlie to go, and it was so hard. But the thing that I'll never forget was muddy puddles. If there was a muddy puddle, it didn't matter. Like we'd all walk round the muddy puddle. He would supposedly walk round the muddy puddle straight through it every time. And it was like, why? What is it with you? You're not a blooming pig, muddy puddles. But he literally would just love to walk through muddy puddles. And at the beach and at the seaside, he'd be just his muzzle would be covered in sand. He'd go down, walking. He would never swim as such, but he'd like jump a few waves and play in the sand for a little while. Then he'd come back up and just lay there. But he would protect our like area of the
Yeah.
beach and patrol it. Don't
Yep.
anyone come near our area. You know how the little dog will come running across,
Yeah.
like a little small dog. He would just go, okay, I'm off. And
Yep.
it just used to be like, this is our part of the beach, and I'd be like, oh, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. He wouldn't hurt it, honestly, I'm saying. But
Yeah.
there were
It's a
friends of ours who was really scared of dogs, really scared. Because of Charlie, they now have dogs
oh.
because he was so gentle with them. I used to say to him, like a baby, he'd stick his and he'd put the treat on his tongue.
Yeah.
And people used to go, make him do that again. I say, well, you make him do it. They say, like a baby, and he go, and then they go, he's so gentle, and then gradually that would like build up that trust in
Confidence.
him. But one day, I don't know if I could tell you this. It's really awful. I walked in the lounge, and that 3-year-old, he would have been Spencer, was sitting on the floor with a lollipop. And Charlie was sitting here, and Spencer was sitting here, and Spencer's going on the lollipop. Then he was given, and then Charlie had a lick. Spencer had a lick, and this lollipop was going. And I just stood there. What? I couldn't say anything. And then I went, "Oh my God!" And I came rushing out, and I said to his mum, "I said, Tash, you're going to have to come and see this." And she came round. She went, all jams are good jams. And I just cracked up with laughter. I was like, I cannot believe you just said, I thought you were going to go mad. But she didn't. She just said, no, it's fine. Look how they're playing. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
I
You've
love
got
that.
that.
Yeah, my girl will growl at you and will pounce if she wants something from you and you don't get her, she'll pounce and growl. She's crazy. So before we end the show, are there any future books or projects you're currently working on that you'd like to share?
Well, definitely we're talking about big news, bad news, um, which is where he sees his mum pulls up at a garage, and outside the garage are all the newspapers, and you just lift the plastic up in the UK and the papers underneath. And he sees the headline that says World War III. And he's like horrified. And then he reads another sign that says bomb in London. So now he's got World War III, bomb in London, put the two together, and he's gone, I'm not going on the school trip to London. So everybody is really excited about going on the school trip, except Jack, because Jack saw what he saw, and he knows about the bomb in London, and he knows about World War III coming. So he doesn't want to be away from his family when World War III happens. And so his head goes to a very dark place, and water will sort him out and tell
Um,
him that,
when is that
you
coming?
know, I think we're going to start writing end of January.
Yay!
So probably be spring. But we got a lot of work doing promoting the book so far. Annie's been doing the series. We've got 3 in a series now. So we're going to try and do some serious book promotion for the first sort of quarter before we bring out the next one, so that we want to keep the momentum going and the
Yeah.
children interested. I think Annie was so, I don't know, we got 32 awards for the last one. Now, obviously, that's something massive for Annie. He was very excited. I think we got something like 12 or 13 best releases or whatever it's called. And they were really exciting moments for Annie. I'm going, yeah, but did we get international bestseller? Yeah, that's all I
Ah,
care about.
oh,
He's like, no, awards.
we
But
will.
yeah, so we definitely will continue the book series. But I think the idea of helping children with questions is a really smart idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I would happily work with you and try and get that done, because I think there are children out there, older children, 11 plus, who
Yeah.
really need help and support.
So this is it,
And
guys. Jack and Walter just came out. New School Niggles. So if you guys please scan that QR code, and Paulette and I will continue this conversation more, of course. But thank you so much for being in our TV show today, sister. and
Oh, thank
I
you.
want to make sure that we properly send you off with some music.
Yay!
Yes, I love this music right here as well. All right. Love it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Whisper boy. Whisper boy. I wake up to the morning light.